It varies what we do. It's always no-gi sparring on a Saturday. Well, as I say, it varies what we do. So next weekend we've got 6 lads competing, and myself competing, so we've got 7 in total, on SGI 9, which is Scottish grappling. I'm fighting as part of Team England in like a 4 nations thing against Scotland, Wales and Ireland. And the lads have all got individual matches. So today was a little bit different. We did some 10-minute rounds today with 5 10s in total, because all the lads that have got their individual matches will be fighting for 10 minutes. So trying to get them ready for that.
Session was a bit more structured than I thought it'd be. I felt a bit more like an open mat, but obviously, and it was still sort of like that, but you were obviously taking like warm up at the start and that sort of thing, and that's a little bit of structure.
Yeah, it's like I do like open mat, and we have an open mat on a Friday morning. But our sparring, like, it is kind of open in terms of you can grab who you want, none of that's set. Like, I never set people up to fight with certain people, but I think it's good to make sure everyone's warm first. I think, like, if you leave a lot of people to their own devices, because there's a lot of different levels on here as well. Like, we do let everyone train together. Like, if we have beginners who've been doing it 2 weeks, but they want to jump into sparring, there's no reason I can't spar with them. I can pick their pace up and set them through a decent round without hurting anybody. So we have a lot of different levels here, and because of that, we've got a lot of people who don't even know how to warm up.
Yeah.
And it's a very physical sport, so the last thing I want is to get 2 rounds in and you've lost 3 people injured. So I think it's important before that we have a decent warm up. I like to build a couple of techniques into that warm up as well, so get everyone moving in a real relaxed manner. But at the same time, they're actually still picking a few things up, especially the lads who haven't been doing it long.
Yeah. Obviously, coming from your background, warming up before every session like that would probably be natural to you, but I feel like for some people it's just not something you really.
That's the thing, yeah. Like, obviously, I've come from Camberley, which is a full-time judo centre in Surrey. If you can ever get down there, it's worth a visit. That's unreal. Like, everyone lives on site.
Yeah.
Everyone trains full-time, literally next door to where they live. It's a very different experience. It's really, really similar to what Daisy Fresh has got really popular for now in jiu-jitsu, but these lads have been doing it in judo for
they're coming over
50 years. I think. Yeah, like watching Daisy Fresh is no different to what Camberley have done for the last 50 years. But because they train full-time, everything's very structured. So basically, I'm mirroring what Camberley are doing down here. Obviously, we're doing judo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. And now I've got Danny Mitchell coming over on a Tuesday from next year to run the MMA class. But in terms of schedule and structuring and session plans and how a session runs, it's very, very similar to how Camberley have been doing it for years.
Yeah. Trying to reflect the intensity of those places, and also like Daisy Fresh, like you were saying, of having, obviously, people aren't sleeping on the mats here, but obviously the intensity of training throughout the week.
Yeah, it's just, I think there's always different ways of doing things, but Camberley's proven for me. So like I've said, I've come from Camberley, so Camberley's, it's been proven over many years. They've had Olympic medalists, they've had loads of Olympians, European medals, world medals, from cadet through to senior. And they train intense. It's like, we train intense here, but it is still for everyone. It's like, I don't mind if people want to compete or if they don't want to compete, but you still got to train hard. And I think for some reason, for that reason, we will lose some members as well. It's a very friendly atmosphere, but the sessions are intense, and I think they need to be as well, because I've seen the results you get from that. And I think there's 2 ways you can run a club. You can either run it as a business for money, and your job is just to keep everyone happy and get people through the door and show loads of cool techniques, or you can train to actually make people good, which is completely what I started this for. I started this gym just for my own training twice a week, so I couldn't find anywhere in the area. And then as soon as I seen that lads were buying into it and it was getting a little bit more serious, I did it to actually make people good. So I think you've got to train a certain way to get the standard where you want it to be.
Yeah. Is every session as intense, or do you have to?
Oh, we definitely we more or less have high and low days. So like a high day for us on Monday. So on Monday night we call it Mad Monday. It's very similar today, but you'll have 50 on the mat instead of what we've just had now. Tuesday we drop it down a little bit. So right now it's wrestling on a Tuesday, but that is like 50 minutes technical, and then we'll have about 10 minutes at the end, which is actually optional sparring. So people can just watch that if they want, if they're tired from the day before. Or if they want to get into that, they can get 10 minutes in, so the workload's not too much. As I said, next year that's going to be MMA though. Wednesday, we have a beginners and an advanced no-gi session back to back, which is a really relaxed session. Again, that's about 50 minutes of technique, 10 minutes of sparring, again, which is optional. A Thursday's pretty steady. We have gi and no-gi back to back. Friday, judo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi back to back. And then a Saturday's hard. So we don't hit the nail every time, every session, but when it's the sessions where we're going, we are going.
Yeah. Would you you said about optional sparring on after sessions? Would you let day one newcomers take part, or is that that for everyone?
Yeah, like I said, I encourage beginners to come on, do the technique. If they want to spar. Like, if I seen anyone in the gym that were being idiots with the beginners and like smashing beginners, then I'd have a word with that person rather than tell the beginners that they can't train. Like, I've got no problem if a beginner comes on and I'm doing a round with a beginner. I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm not going to roll with you, mate, you only just started. I love rolling with beginners. I practice other things and I put them into situations and make them work their own way out of it rather than just being robots and listening to only what I show, make them think for themselves a little bit as well. But obviously you have different levels of beginners. We have some lads that come in and they want to fly straight in. We have some lads that are a bit anxious about sparring, and that's fine. I just let them sit on the side, and if they want to do that for 6 months, they can. Yeah. Until they start learning a few techniques, they feel a little bit more confidence, and then eventually they start funneling into the sparring. Do
you encourage a similar style in them as to your own, or do you just obviously show them techniques and let them develop their own?
We don't really do my sessions anyway, so now we're lucky because we have a lot of different coaches, but my sessions are not really jiu-jitsu. It's like a mix of everything. So like, obviously my background's predominantly judo, but then I've done jiu-jitsu under Carlson Gracie Farnborough to start with.
For people that don't know, what are your achievements in judo?
Judo, I was British champion 6 times. I got 10 World Cup medals, 4 European Cup medals. I won the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow 2014. Represented GB at the European Games in Baku. Done a lot of judo. But the style that we've got, like, I was lucky because when I started judo it was the old school judo. Like, if you look at judo now, the way it's been liquidised through the rule changes, it's not the same sport as it was when I started. Now it's like you can't break grips with 2 hands, it's got to be breaking with 1 hand. You can't touch a leg at all. Even if someone's attacking you, you can't counter by grabbing the leg. When I started, it was more or less wrestling the gi. It was full leg grabs were allowed. All your hip throws were still in there. You could counter hip throws with leg grabs. So I count myself as lucky doing judo back then. Otherwise, if I started judo and strictly just judo now, all the wrestling parts would have been gone. And because of the way judo was then, you actually did a lot of work no-gi, because we had to do, like, my training used to be judo on a Monday, wrestling on a Tuesday, judo Wednesday, wrestling Thursday, judo Friday, because wrestling was so similar to judo, because you were literally wrestling in a gi. So the style that I run the sessions here it's a big mix of judo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu / catch wrestling type things on the floor. So I'll push that across in my sessions, and I'll push all the knowledge I've got in them areas in my sessions. But then, like I say, we have coaches in other areas. We have Jace Broadhead, who's a combat-based black belt. He runs leg locks on a Thursday. He's great. We have Dan Pinchbeck, who takes the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sessions in a gi, so he's got a phenomenal game in the gi. And like I say, we have Liam doing the MMA on a Sunday, and we've got Danny Mitchell coming across next year. And we've got Mick for boxing, so everything's covered really. I mean, they're all coached at a good level. I wouldn't let them coach if they wasn't.
Yeah. You said about your judo. People often seem surprised when you say that your grappling is 90% from your judo background. I think a little bit because you're saying how much it's changed.
Yeah.
Since obviously from when you were training to now.
Yeah, it's I think I was lucky as well in doing jiu-jitsu with Carlson Gracie, because the Carlson Gracie style is pressure. I think if I'd have took my old school judo style to some other jiu-jitsu clubs and then gone through them doors and been doing loads of bottom work, I just don't think I'd have took to it, because it would have been so different to what I was already doing. But because the judo and the style that Carlson Gracie gyms push across is a lot of top work and a lot of pressure, it kind of fits together perfect. And as I say, since I was literally like 8 years old when I started judo when I was 8, started wrestling when I was like 9. So I've done no-gi for a long time as well. So now all it's been when I've been focusing on my jiu-jitsu is just making small adaptations to the rule sets.
Been doing no-gi since you first started training in judo?
Yeah, literally, as I say, we used to do judo on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and wrestling Tuesday, Thursday. So I was always used to training no-gi.
Obviously, no-gi is more of a newer development.
Exactly,
in
yeah.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but it's all very similar. It's like, if I think of niwaza, they call it with judo, I'm still doing 90% of the things that I'm doing now. Like, my favourite submission's a compression choke. In judo, that's a hold down. So if I get someone in a compression, or they call it a scarf hold, or kezigatami in judo, I'm trying to hold someone there for 20 seconds. So that's such a big advantage for me to have done for so many years, because I know if I get someone in a kezigatami in judo, I can hold them for 20 seconds and that gets me the win. I've found so many ways to get to kezigatami. And then when I get there, I'd like to think...
20 seconds is a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd like to think I've got a really good control of that position when I get there as well. And it's a different level as well. It's like, the background I've come from with judo isn't just training judo like down the road and doing it with a few mates. Like, I've done it full time and we've travelled everywhere with it. Like, I've been to Russia 3 times with judo, I've been to Japan twice, for long periods as well. And you can't really describe the level of some people, like, in the sport. Like, people don't understand that. Like, some of the lads I've rolled with in judo, better people than I've ever felt on the floor in jiu-jitsu yet. I've not fought anyone in jiu-jitsu yet that feels as good as some of the lads I've fought in judo. Like, you got lads like Flavio Canto, who's a judo player.
What aspects of their game?
It's just a different style of groundwork. It's where jiu-jitsu nowadays tends to be a lot more flowy, and you're rolling from one position to the other. Judo groundwork with these lads is brutal. Like, they get one position and they're going to finish from that position. They're not giving you an option to move so they can flow to the next position. Like, if one of them lads get you in a certain position, it's finished. So you can't allow them to get you in that position.
Instead of flowing with the other person, you're pressing your game on them.
Exactly, because
more dominant.
Judo, if you do a judo competition, the transition's a lot shorter. So if there's nothing going on the floor, like, they'll let it go for 3 minutes on the floor if I'm actively attacking something. So if I'm chasing a choke, they'll let that go for as long as I need. If I'm not doing anything, I'm just working the clock down, they'll stand me straight back up. So your transitions have got to be much, much faster than jiu-jitsu, where you can actually take your time to get to that position. You haven't got that time in judo, so it's got to be quick transitions.
Yeah. In terms of specific techniques, what have you found has worked well transitioning from judo to jiu-jitsu, especially no-gi techniques?
So on the floor, standing, both. On
both.
The floor, both. So stood up, all my foot sweeps. So kouchi, ouchi, sasai, diasha. Using all of them in no-gi, but then linking it with other positions that you wouldn't use in judo. Like, I like to hit sasais to set up front headlocks. I like to hit diashis to set up front headlocks. I like to snap people down to front headlocks to then set up a diashi as they try and step back from that. Obviously, as I said before, I've wrestled a long time, so all my doubles, my singles, my body lock work's pretty good as well. And then there's throws in judo like sumigeshis that you can always hit from a front headlock when you've snapped them down. Obviously a fireman's, tigurumas, just off the top of my head, but there's absolutely loads, stood up especially. And then on the floor, I think you get a massive base, I think you get a solid base. I think if you have a good background in judo, I think you have a really solid base, which makes you hard to sweep. In terms of submissions, it's probably more of the upper body submissions, arm bars, arm triangles. You're not allowed to guillotine in judo, but it's a very smooth transition from judo to jiu-jitsu to get on that guillotine. Compression chokes, as I've said already. Back takes. We do a lot of work from attacking turtle in judo.
Yeah.
That you end up in that position a lot. Yeah, like obviously the big difference was just leg locks. And I'm obviously not a leg locker, but for me, I just put a lot of work into knowing how to look after my legs, and if I get in them entanglements, be comfortable and familiar with that position and defend leg locks so I can get back out and get back on top.
Yeah. You're saying when you were competing in judo full time, you often travelled a lot, other gyms, training other people. Is that something you've tried to bring to this gym with your jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
I know you often do open mats with Lloyd at Gripper.
Yeah, like I know there's a few gyms that don't like cross-training for some reason. I've never heard of that in my life before I actually opened my own gym. So like with judo, it's a huge thing that you've got to travel. Like we literally travelled everywhere. I'd be out the country every 2 weeks. I wouldn't be in England for longer than 2 weeks at a time. And that was solely because there's that many different styles and different ways of doing things that you've got to get out and get used to it before you get exposed to it in a competition. I think if you don't do that, it's literally just a matter of time until you come across one of them people in a competition and you lose, and then it's almost too late to start looking at why, when you might have well just get out there, get as many different styles as you can, work them out, feel them, take things from them as well, and it only benefits you in competition. So like here now, I encourage everyone, like when we first opened, we had lads like going to different training camps but asking me if they could. I just found it bizarre. It's like, mate, you remember here, this is just, like for me, this is just your base. Like you have a good base, you come back, we work your technique, we build the style that we have here, we spar hard when it's time to spar hard. You go out and compete. If you make mistakes, we come back and we work on the mistakes that you've made. But get out as well. Like get out as much as you can, go and spar with different people. And then if something goes wrong for you there, bring that back into the gym as well. It's like, if you did like a club visit every month, every two a month, it's as good as competing every month, really. It's only the environment that changes a little bit, the pressure. And so yeah, I push cross-training all the time.
Seems bizarre, doesn't it, asking your personal trainer if you can go lift weights at another gym?
It's crazy, man. Honestly, I've never experienced that before I come over to here.
Yeah. What was your motivation for transitioning to grappling from broader grappling from judo?
I just lived like a judo lifestyle for too long. So like judo is just so hard, mate. It's like I was living in a cabin, literally living in a cabin. That's why you need to go, because it's just a place like you've never seen. It's literally a cabin on bricks. The doors don't even fit, so the doors don't lock. They're literally just fire doors. Every door is a fire door that you just push bar to open, but it doesn't even fit, so you just open it with your fingers. It's absolutely freezing. Like I'd genuinely lie in bed every night and just listen to mice running through my drawers every night, because it was in the middle of a woods, so you just couldn't stop mice coming in. What was the question? Completely forgot.
Your motivation for moving from judo
coming
to
over, yeah.
broader grappling.
So like I was living that lifestyle and not even getting paid anything, and then I think it was, and I was doing jiu-jitsu as well. Like Luke, the coach at Camberley, made us cross-train jiu-jitsu all the time anyway, because Carlson Gracie Hull shared our venue. So he pushed all the judo lads to go on it anyway from a long time ago. You're talking like, must be 6 to 8, it'll be about 8 years. So I was doing it anyway. And then when I came over to Hull, I was just like, I basically failed to qualify for the 2016 Olympic Games, and I was in qualification all the way through. And I dropped out with 2 tournaments left, which is like the worst thing that's ever happened in my life, basically. It's terrible. Because I was put so much into it and then fell out with 2 tournaments left, and I went home and I had a bit of a rough year. And then I moved back to Camberley to try and go for Tokyo 2020, but I just didn't have it in my head anymore. I wasn't interested anymore. And you're not getting paid for it, so it's really hard. You're training full time, you got to do little bits of work around just to get by. And you're living in a place like Camberley, which is pretty rough. So I got offered a job over here at Hull KR as a wrestling coach. So I moved over here, and then for my own mindset, really, I wanted to train. So I went to a couple of different gyms and I just didn't click with them at all for whatever reason. So I thought I'll open my own place twice a week and we'll just spar. I'm not going to do judo because judo's got a bad name, I think. And I don't know if it's because of the way a lot of clubs have stayed really traditional and not bought into jiu-jitsu. But if you mention judo to a lot of people at the moment, they're like, oh, it's rubbish. When you go to a rubbish judo club and it's rubbish. Like if you go to a rubbish jiu-jitsu club and it's rubbish. You go to a good judo club, it's a very high level. So
why do you think it is they think that then?
I just think they've gone across to a judo club, and the thing is with judo, some clubs keep it really traditional. Like you've got a bloke working 9 to 5, and then he's coming in after he's worked all day and he's got to bow to a picture on the wall, and it's just too much. You know, like blokes come off a scaffolding site and then he comes in and he's bowing to some bloke on the wall. It's like, you don't want to be doing that. You just want to come in, train and get on. So we're not traditional like that. And I went down the jiu-jitsu route, obviously, because I had a lot of experience in that as well. But I knew if I opened the jiu-jitsu place, it would automatically be more popular straight away to start with than the judo would be. So that was my idea with that. So then I started competing in it again myself. And now we're doing pretty well here. We've slowly started bringing some judo classes into the schedule. And they're slowly starting to pick up now because they're starting to see how the judo crosses over to nogi as well. Yeah.
I heard you say recently that at the moment you're just competing just for fun. Is that true?
Yeah, just like I said, like there's nothing that can happen in grappling now that's anywhere near as bad as an Olympic qualification cycle. Like
the pressure of that.
An Olympic cycle is 4 full years of being out of the country for every 2 weeks, staying in absolute budget hotels, like terrible, and you have to win at least a medal in every competition because there's a world ranking list, so it's nothing to do with being number 1 in your country. If it was being number 1 in your country, I'd have gone anywhere. But you've got to be top 22 in the whole world. And this ranking list starts from, everyone starts level on 0. And every competition, you're fighting for points. So you've got to win. And if you don't, you're going home, you're looking at the list, you're looking who's coming up from underneath. So there's so much pressure for a whole 4 years. There's no off-season, on-season. It's literally January to December, and then you start again for 4 full years. It's just pressure all the way through. So there's nothing that grappling can do to compare to that. Like we had Polaris at the weekend, and it was just, it's a big show, but like it's nothing compared to like what we've already done with judo. There's just like no nerves. It's completely enjoying it. The worst that can happen is lose, and no one's bothered about it the day after anyway. It's not like judo where it's something I've actually been working to get towards for years and years.
Do you feel like you say it's like you've not been working towards for years and years like you were the judo, but so do you feel like you almost put less work into these grappling matches, or is it just?
I train the same way now as I did for judo, and I think that'll never ever change. I don't think I can actually do anything else. When I moved over here from Surrey, I had a period where I couldn't find the gym to train at for about 6 months, and I was literally going out of my mind. Like, it's a bit of an issue, to be fair. So I train very hard. I train with everyone. I train every morning, every night. Right now, Monday to Saturday. And I have Harman coaching systems who do my strength and conditioning on the side of that as well. So I put loads of work into my grappling now, but it's just a different mindset with it. Like now, for me with grappling, I just literally want to get the biggest matches I can get and put on really good shows. Genuinely, like when I'm fighting, obviously I want to win, but I'm not thinking for 3 weeks before it, I really want to win this match. I'm thinking how big I want to throw the person for 3 weeks. I'm just getting excited about it. But it helps me performance.
Can I chuck them off the mat?
Literally, like it helps me performance. Like I've lost matches in the past, and I know for a fact it's because I've been building that match up in my head for 4 weeks, and I've gone out and I've not took this risk when I should have, because I'm so scared of losing. Whereas now I'm the complete opposite. It's like I'm just going out to do something as crazy as I can do. If there's something there, I'm going to dive for it. And if it costs me a match, it costs me a match. It's one of them. I've lost plenty of times by now.
What do you make of that Polaris format?
I thought it was really good, mate. Yeah. It's I've not been on a stage like that for grappling. Like I've done Grapple Fest, which is a phenomenal show as well. And fair play to them, they get some ridiculous matches. Like they got Daisy Fresh coming over on the next show. But as a stage and like the way they run the event, it's unbelievable. Polaris, like the venue was unreal. Put you all up in an hotel the night before. It's a different environment. It's like fighting on big stages for judo again. We used to stay in official hotels the night before. The rule set's good as well. It's sub only. I know they do 3 rounds, but I didn't even listen, to be fair. They like split it into 3 segments, but I wasn't even listening. I just wanted to go out and have a scrap really and see how I got on. But it's basically submission only in my head, and whoever gets the most submission attempts come the end, if there isn't a finish, will get the win. So I
thought it was like when you had that Kesugatami.
I did, yeah, but I knew it weren't on because with a scaffold compression, they've got to be flat. So he kind of... I remember being in like a no-arm triangle. He turned on his side and then I went to mount to take a modified mount to take his back. But when I did that, he quickly flattened out and fell into like a compression grip. But he still had my leg in half guard. So I couldn't come back for the underhook because he was already facing me. So if I tried that, he'd have just got back into the wrestle and got up. So when I got in, got my leg, I cleared my knee line and got the pass to scaffold. He was on his side, so I kind of knew when I had it. There was a lot of pressure there, and I could feel him wheezing. I could hear him wheezing, but not quite enough to be able to finish.
Yeah, were you disappointed in that then?
Yeah, no, like it's quite like I was happy I got
like
to that position.
There's no pressure on you, so
no, like and Matt was a good black belt as well. He's been to time with people like Jackson Souza and that. He's a good jiu-jitsu player. And I've been compressing a lot of people lately. So I thought it'd be quite hard to get to that position. Thought people will start watching that, but I was happy I could get there. We've got a lot of setups to get to that position, so I'd back myself to be able to find that in most matches now.
Yeah. Obviously you've also had a couple MMA fights this year. Where's your focus between the 2 sports?
So my focus is on the gym. So my focus is this gym. Like I'm 30 now. I've had my massive dig at a career, and that was in judo. I was full time for 10 years with that. This is my lifestyle completely now. So I train and I teach full time. So we have people here who train full time with me now. There's a lad called Jonah who came into this gym 2 years ago at 148 kilos, like severely obese. Literally like my height, about 5'8", 5'9", 148 kilos. He's bought into it and started training full time, which is mental. Now he's 100 kilo and he was on Grapple Fest and near enough went to time with the lad as well, which is ridiculous to be fair in 2 years. That makes me happier than my own wins now. So there has been a change. Like when I was full time with judo, I was so selfish, it was unbelievable. which I think you've actually got to be successful in a sport like that, in a combat sport, you've got to be selfish. So there's been a change in the fact that it's not just about me now, it's definitely more about the people that I teach. But I do still just train hard and I love competing. So I really, really enjoy the grappling because there's not much in terms of a weight cut. Judo, I had to cut weight all the time. And like I said, with the Olympic cycle, you're competing more or less every 2 weeks. So I was consistently dieting all year round for like 3 or 4 years. So in terms of a weight cut, my mind is completely broke with it a little bit. So I love the fact grappling, I might have to lose 1 kilo or 2 kilos before, and I can go in and enjoy what I actually do. I had 2 MMA fights. I loved doing it, but then I had a child as well, which stopped me. I was driving over to train with Danny at AVT 3 or 4 days a week, and then training here in the evening. But obviously when my missus fell pregnant and then she gave birth and everything that comes after it, it's just hard. So the MMA took pushed aside for a little bit. Next year I'm planning on being on Grapple Fest on the 26th of Feb. Polaris is meant to be in March, so I'm hoping I get a really big match on that this time. So there's a couple of really good people that have actually asked for me, which was bizarre, but it's perfect for me. And then there's the ADCC trials in Moldova in May, which I'm going to do. Danny will be teaching here now on Tuesday, so I'm going to be doing MMA with him every Tuesday. I'll be doing our morning striking session on a Thursday, and then I'll probably start going back to AVT on a Friday morning just for the sparring till May. And then after that trials, depending on how that goes, I might jump back into some MMA then, because that would have been 5 months back training MMA. So
depending on the ADCC trials go.
Yeah, because if you do really well, you can get an invite, can't you? So like if I got an invite for that, it's the biggest tournament for grappling. So that would be a dream. So if I could get on that somehow, and for me then, obviously the rest of the years I'm just grappling, and I travel around and get some serious preparation for it. If I went in and bombed out, which could happen, then if I've been doing MMA for 5 months as well, I'd probably jump in the cage, get some MMA fights, and just keep trying to get on these shows like Grapple Fest, Polaris. They're great shows, man. I enjoy them. It's just the weight cut with the MMA. It's like the thought of me getting to 77 kilos right now is like an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. Sounds like you're trying to take on as much as you can then in the coming moments. You mentioned Grapple Fest, Polaris.
Yeah, I just want big matches, mate. Like I did a couple of tournaments this year, like All Stars, London and things like that, and it was good, but I've just been doing competitions like that for like 20 years. Like literally with Judo, it's kind of like you start with them competitions where they're great comps, but they're just in a sports hall. You rock up, you're fighting like 5 different lads in one day. I've genuinely done that for like 20 years. So like, that sort of environment just gives me no excitement anymore at all. Whereas a single match on Polaris against a really good person who everyone knows, and
the sort of super fight.
Yeah,
setting.
exactly. Like that excites me. Grapple Fest, it's a crazy atmosphere. Grapple Fest. Have you been?
I haven't. No.
It's just like it's in Liverpool. It's just a mat in the middle of everyone just stood up having a drink around you, and it's 2 blokes going wild in the middle. So things like that really get me excited, so I could do that for a long time. So I would like to think next year that I will just do either MMA fights, which are obviously really exciting, or just Grapple Fest Polaris, and then obviously your ADCC trials, ADCC UK, whenever they put that on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for you, mate. You were saying about Jonah earlier. So you advertised earlier on in the year about having lads training full time at the gym that you'd be looking after. Was he one of those lads, and how successful was that? Yeah, so like it wasn't anywhere near as successful as it could have been. I was going to let people live here, but it's literally against the law. Like it's against the law, and I found that out. So
because obviously where I was living with Camberley,
What law is that?
it's like there's little things like if people were living here, we'd need a housing licence instead of what we've got now, or it's too complex for me. We got told loads. It's like we've only got one entrance, so if there was literally a fire in here, and the lads could only get out that one way, and they got badly hurt, I'd literally take all of that responsibility. Because like I said, Camberley where I was living, this is much nicer, and I would have sorted them all out like camp beds that they could have just pulled out every night, and it would have been perfect. I don't know how people like Daisy Fresh actually get away with what they've been doing.
I'm sure they've not got any
that's the
licenses
thing.
for that sort of stuff.
Like all the amount of hassle that I got from different people saying, I like your idea, but this is the problem, and like it was so many different laws and so many different regulations that I was going against. I was just like, hell, it's like I could actually get done for doing this. So we went with because I had loads of messages. I had people from like London saying they were going to move here. I had a few from Liverpool saying they were going to move here. But I couldn't house them. We spoke to Hull University. It's just like everything takes 5 years to get back off them. But I spoke to Hull Uni about building a programme where, a bit like Bath University do it for judo. So people go in and they do like a university course, but it's tied in with training full time. So they get students' accommodation. They basically come here and train every morning, go back to university to study, and then come back here and train every night. And that'd work perfect, and you just don't get anything back off them. So we've gone with the local lads. So at the moment we have like 5 or 6 local lads that do train full time. I pay Harman Coaching Systems, who does my S&C, to do all their programming as well. So all the strength and conditioning is looked after, and then they train every evening. Jonah's just a product of that really. He's getting good training, and he's following the schedule. He's turning up. He just enjoys his training, and he's doing the right things. He's got the right support. Like I help the lads with everything I can. If I get people that help me out, the first thing I'm doing is trying to see if they'll help the gym out instead of just me, and help the lads out that are pushing for it.
Because then you get as much reward seeing them progress.
Exactly that. Like, it's just not about me anymore, mate. Like, I'd rather run the gym, jump in some big matches like we've already spoke about, just for purely enjoyment, and hopefully people enjoy watching them, because they will be a decent watch. It's more about just progressing, and we've changed so many things for different people. Like, we've got lads in here who've had really rough backgrounds. We've got lads in here who've had major issues with depression. And now they're in here twice a day and they're buzzing and they're part of something. Like, we're not just a gym either where people pay a membership, come in, train and leave. We go out with each other quite a bit. It's like a proper close-knit gym. So it's like you genuinely are joining a group. And I don't have any mates. Like, all my mates now that I lived with at Camberley, I hardly speak to. Because you just move around, don't you? Like, I'm sure, I know for a fact if I bumped into them now, it'd be like we've never been apart. But you move around, there's that much going on, you don't keep up with them. So all my mates right now are in the gym.